I'll take that hopefully as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's do some other stuff with this then. I'm going to get into some of the things that I expect to do in a second session because this is going a good bit quicker. Everybody's saying that I'm not going too fast. So what I'm going to do now is I've got this assembly, but I am going to open up, and I'll show you some neat things that happen when we do this. I'm going to go back to my original part, thing 1. Where is it? Thing 1. Okay, so I've got the assembly drawing open, and I've got thing 2 open. I guess I really don't need that open anymore. That's okay, I'll leave it open. And now I'm looking at thing 1. And let's say I've discovered that I drew this maybe too fast. There was a couple features that I wanted to add on to there. So I'm going to do some prettying up to this. And let's use, how about we use this fillet command. Okay, this will allow us to make rounded edges. I guess maybe our scenario is I drew this and my safety captain realized that people are going to cut themselves on all these sharp edges. So I need to go back and fillet these edges. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click on the edges that I would like to soften. Okay, so I've got all 4 of those edges selected. Right now it's selected a 1/10 of an inch fillet. I think that's probably going to be fine, so I'm going to experiment and just say okay. And when I do that, I didn't like what I did.
Your thickness of your wall is 1/10 of an inch.
That is correct. And so I've filleted the entire thickness. So let's go ahead and make that 0.05. Nope, doesn't like that either. Let's get on this and start again. Okay, now it's working. So I'm going to go ahead and fillet the rest of those edges. Oops, I don't want the side, I want just the edge. If you make a mistake, like I selected face, you can just highlight it and delete it. Delete it. And so now I just have the edge that I want, edge that I want, edge that I want. Click OK. And now I have, I didn't realize I was getting the front there. That's okay. Now I have filleted those edges. And the nice thing is, if I go up here and save this, and then go back and look at my assembly, it's going to say, oh, there's some things that have changed. Do I want to rebuild the assembly? I say yes. And if I zoom in on the, look at that, it's changed my assembly drawing as well. So when you do one of these drawings, these part drawings, and then go ahead and put it into an assembly, if you make changes sometime down the road, it will roll all of those changes forward and do whatever you need. Now, sometimes that causes problems because you might have mated something together and the surface that you mated is changed or something like that. But you know, I've never really found a situation where I wasn't able to find my way back to a recovery when I've done something like that. So some different advanced, not necessarily advanced, but some different techniques that you can use to shape your part. Let's go back to that other part. Okay.
Terry, you're probably going to cover this in a later date, but can you assign physical properties like weight?
Yes. That's actually fine right now. Let's, in fact, let's do a couple things here. Let's decide that this part right here is going to be made out of aluminum. So I'm going to edit the material there on thing 1. And I'm going to say that this one is, how about, we'll just do 6061 alloy. Okay, so now I have made the bearing block out of aluminum, and if I go to, I've left the other one open as well. Yep. And let's say I want my axle to be steel. So now I have in my assembly an aluminum bearing block and a steel axle. And it will take with it those weights that go, the density of the material and however big I've made my shape. And so if you truly draw your entire system correctly, and
you know the weight of your robot.
Exactly. All of the items from the AndyMark kit of parts are drawn for us, so we can import those and use them. I'm assuming that the weights, I've never used this for weight, but I'm assuming that they would have the weights correct. So you can certainly do exactly what you're suggesting. Beyond that, you can experiment with. Let me just go back to the drawing. It's easier to manipulate these when they are when you're dealing with the part file. You can decide how you want them to appear. So, like in this case, we're drawing the we're going to anodize this purple and save. And again, whenever we go back to the assembly, it will reflect that. So you can draw your entire robot, apply whatever finishes you want, and render it exactly the way it's going to appear whenever you're done. Why don't I take a minute now, or however long it takes, just for whatever questions we might have. Let anybody catch up that wants to, and see if there's something we need to do again, or we need to go a slightly different direction. So go ahead and fire away. I will watch the chat and listen to the audio for a few minutes. Oh, okay, I see Jason has added that the kit of parts was not, it didn't have specified weights in there. Like I said, I didn't experiment with that. We did use a lot of items from the kit of parts, but I didn't worry about a weight. I know that I probably made a lot of mistakes in some of our drawings, so it wasn't that accurate. Okay, well, it does not look like we have some questions, so I'm going to go on to my next thing. We have put together an assembly. What if we need something more intricate than one of these items that we are drawing ourselves? Let's say we want to include a bearing or something like that. Very fortunately for us, we can find just about anything we want drawn from some of the suppliers that we use. And so, for example, I'm going to go to one of my favorites for getting CAD files, and that's McMaster-Carr. And so even if you're buying, for example, buying bearings from AndyMark or from Bex or somebody else, you're certainly welcome to find the CAD files at McMaster-Carr. And so I'm going to type bearing, and we've got roller bearings. How about that one? Let's do a flange one for a 1/2-inch shaft. This looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm just going to select that. Okay, and then product detail. And this is what I like so much. If I click on the CAD, I have right here the ability to do a Solidworks. I'm thinking that's, believe it or not, might not be the way to do it, but I'm going to try it anyway, and then I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay, so now it actually is working. So it is asking me to go ahead and save this. The one problem that I've found with downloading a bunch of part files from suppliers is they always give you these weird numbers.
You don't know what it is.
Yeah, so at this point I'm going to say, and it's the only one I've got right now, so I'm not going to worry about size. Okay. Okay, it's there. And let's see if I can bring it into my drawing. What do you know? And so just that easy, I wanted to incorporate a bearing into my robot. I found it on McMaster-Carr, and I brought it into my part file. You could probably put that right on, same shaft. How about that? Okay, so just like that, actually have purged my files from this computer, so I can't show you the kit of parts files, but if you go to the first site under kit of parts, they have the entire 2014 kit of parts saved in just about every format you can think of, and SolidWorks is one of those formats. So feel free to play with that. We will certainly start playing with that next time we get together.
Can you rotate a part in the assembly?
It depends on how much you've mated it, but yes, I mean I can rotate the shaft too. You just can't see it rotating because it doesn't look any different when it rotates.
Well, like before you put the before you made like the bearing with the shaft, could you rotate it the other way?
You wanted it the other way? How about we do this? Okay, so now it should be, yep, unmated. So if I wanted to put this so that it was like so, what I like to do is have it in approximately the configuration you want before you made it, and then go ahead and made it, and it'll go the way you want. Now notice it didn't go on the shaft this time. That's because it went to wherever it was sitting. It went to the closest position that is concentric with that. It is right now concentric, and I can go ahead and shove it right onto wherever I want it. And if I would want it to be maybe flush with the edge, then I can just choose that surface, and now it's going to do that. Usually what you'll do with a bearing, though, is you will mate that surface with whatever it's pressing against. So now because I mated that with the end, I can no longer move it, but you notice that I can still rotate stuff. Okay, so the beauty of the mates. I love whenever you're connecting something together with a bunch of bolts, and I'll have like a, some type of a part that has 16 bolt holes, and I'll bring in 16 copies of the bolt, and I'll just start mating, and it's almost like you're assembling it as you're physically assembling, because the bolts could drop right down into the holes. It's kind of a neat process. Let me show you something else. As I mentioned, if you're going to do multiple things, if we want to insert, let's say we are building our robot, and we want to insert a whole bunch of these bearings, you can do this. I have the flange bearing right there. If I go and choose on the push pin, now I can put in a whole bunch, and then just go ahead and unchoose the push pin, and I'm done with the next one. So if you do need to put multiple items in, rather than insert component, put it in, insert component, put it in, you can click on the little push pin and then put in as many of them as you want, and then I can move them wherever I want after I get them in there.